Move on to the fourth part, the personal life, the different cultures. Like I normally say, like the cancel culture. Why is cancel not cancel? Like you cancel on people?
Yeah, you cancel basically any public figures that you think it's inappropriate. So, what do you think about the productivity culture between Eastern and Western teenagers?
That's a very hard topic, but I feel like particularly for this one, the productivity culture is similar, like similar in the intensity and kind of the severance, but different in the approaches. So for example, I feel like when we're talking about teenagers, the productivity culture means they're studying hard, they're aiming for straight A's, they're trying to graduate top of the class, which is a very common and popular scenario in Eastern culture, especially among Asian countries. But in Western countries, we don't see that rigorous and that desperate desire among teenagers to have straight A's and to graduate very highly and like with an honors and something. I don't disregard all the hardworking people and the students in the Western country, but I just see that among students, especially the Eastern countries, they resemble more of a productivity culture to the extent that it's very toxic. But if we're talking about the young adults and the kind of more grown-ups generations, then I see that in the Western countries, they resemble more of the productivity culture. Because, nowadays, there are all these trends on TikTok about, being financially independent, being your boss, boss babes and stuff. And so all of those trends I originate in Western countries. And so depending on the two demographics that we're talking about, the productivity culture is severely different and is affecting different people of different region very differently. Though that's so much different. But yeah, that's my opinion on that. What's yours?
I think that maybe there's a line between maybe smart and hard work. So basically, when talking about productivity, you are measuring how much you would do, like how much you would do in a period of time, right? And so in I don't know about everyone, but at least I think that reflecting, in my education, I've learned to work hard rather than work smart. And so basically, if you want to do anything, you just have to work, and practice, and do a lot of things. And so maybe it will improve your speed or anything. But I feel like it's kind of like affecting the way that you do things, because while doing the same thing to speed up the process is good, but I think that it's better when you cannot work smart. You think more like you think of more ways to do one problem, and then I feel like I'm not being given the environment to work smart because the time and all the pressure, and it's really hard. Even though if you really want to work smart, it's just that even like work smart requires a lot of time because you have to experience a lot of ways to find one that could maybe apply to all situations. But we're not given that environment, so I feel like our productivity may be high, but I don't know if it's for long, because sometimes we hit like bumps, and maybe we cannot recover from it, because when we work hard and we suddenly don't work anymore, it's basically the process kind of like staggered.
Yeah, it circles back to the thing you mentioned about previously about the privilege that developed countries have in terms of the higher standards of living, the lower inflation rates and stuff. So I think like in their culture, even though whether they want it or not, they kind of resemble a more relaxed vibe compared to ours, because within our mindset we have always been taught that work harder, because other people, they are like, for example, if you want to study abroad, like in our situations, especially in a developed country, you have to work harder, because in our country we don't have the resources much resources like the students in America will, and so we have to work extra harder than they do in order to earn their spot. And so with that in mind, other deep-rooted traditions and beliefs, that's where our productivity culture, toxic productivity culture, comes in. And that's it. It has driven so many generations crazy, but I don't see a near future where it will stop. Yeah, I totally don't see
Yeah,
a
because
near future.
yeah, the vision and the goals of the country, it's still the same, right? So it's really, even though that we're aware of, that
Mhm.
really cannot change. You remember when we in our debate we said that, no, actually we saw that some article we said that aware is important, but it does not create any structural changes. Just
Mhm.
when we saw that, wait, I'm not sure I remember it right, something like that.
Yeah, but hopefully with the new educational policies, it would change. Like with the high school level and stuff. I don't know. Maybe it would change, but not in the near future. So we'll move on and talk about a next culture, which is kind of similar to productivity culture, but it is a hustle culture. For all of you who don't know about hustle culture, it's like the culture where people have to go at every single time, and they don't have rest time in between. So for example, if you're studying, then you have to study nonstop. And if you're working, then you have to attend every single meeting. You have to work every single day, every single hour of the day. And that, for me, I think like about the hustle culture and every problem surrounding it, it's kind of create this stress, and it's where the stress and anxiety and people burning out come from. Do you think like this culture exists more in Western country or Eastern country?
Because like we said that in Eastern region, we really hold education on really high respect. Like it's everything. It's the gateway to our bright future. And without education, you basically have nothing. And so it's very competitive in, at least in Asian countries. And you see that there's a lot of stereotypes, talking about Asian students, right? You see, like online, there's like so much, examples saying that Asian students like this, and tiger mom, or like, yeah, tiger mom, and
But we're back to tiger mom again.
and something. And so anyway, it's not just the competition between the students, it's the competition between the parents too. And the parents has a very strong effect on their students education, right? Basically they force, and if you don't have if you don't achieve like this GPA, you will be, your allowance will be cut, and you will not, I don't know, there's all sorts of threats. And just I think that's called motivation, but I don't know why. It's just that something you see very common here. You just have to study. Your goal is to study and do nothing else. And in class, maybe just a 0.0 0.01 difference between GPAs, then there's a whole debate. It's super competitive. So I'll say that. Yeah, it's.
Yeah. Okay.
And do you know why? Like, I mean, except for the education being, I'm losing it with very yeah,
minimum word vocabulary. We're not native speakers. Okay, I got
lose it.
what
I
you're
really
saying.
don't know what I'm talking about.
After like 2 periods of chemistry, 2 periods of physics, my brain is dead. But anyway, so I do think like the hustle culture, it's kind of subsidized in the East, because we have a tradition where family members have to spend time together for a meal, like a lunch or dinner or both. And so I feel like that's kind of gives us a break within the hustle culture. But I do agree, like that scenario kind of disappears among students, because I know some students they have to study like from very early in the morning to 10 p.m. at night. They can't even see their parents' faces, and so that's why they can't even have that family time together. But I do like, because it's a tradition, it kind of subsidized this hustle culture a bit. But um again, with the standardized education, like we've all talked about, like um it's kind of, this hustle culture is getting out of control, and especially for students with such a what's the word, immature mind, and they're not fully developed. It's very detrimental, and I know that we've been there in that position. So yeah, I do agree that in the east it's more competitive, especially among teenagers. Okay, that concludes what we wanted to talk about within this discussion, and let's move on to the final part where we share our opinions. I have prepared two questions that I feel like it's very interesting, and we can maybe answer those questions with this last part of the discussion. Okay, so are you ready?
Okay.
The first question for you, Margot, if you could choose where you were born, which region would you choose, like between the east and the west, and why?
I think, okay, this is a very hard question. The moment I saw you type this question, I instantly know that it's really hard. And I don't really have a definite like answers to this, but if I have to choose, then I think that I would choose to be born in Eastern region. Say that even though I know that in the West, we have a lot better access to a lot of things. We have a lot of chances and choices. However, I think that like I have experience with the Eastern culture, and I think it's still great because with the motivation and with the push, like there's something new, there's something called like innovation, because you see that there's a lot of things that needs to be catch up, and there's a lot of things. I'm talking from a perspective from Vietnam, okay? I don't know about other Eastern country, but like all in all, I think that with the hustle culture, with the competitive atmosphere, with the ever like rushing everything, it's rushing to the end, and no, not really the end. People just achieving and achieving, and I think that it's kind of great because with now being online learning or in another dimension, I think that it's still better for me to have this sort of drive to move forward rather than I'm not saying that it's we don't have that kind of drive in the West, but I think I'll be more suitable. Okay, how about you?
So if I really think about it very hard, I would still choose the east, but not for the rigorous kind of environment like you mentioned. I chose it because of the diversity in cultural and the rich culture, and the experiences that we have with for example, in Vietnam, we have traditional folklores, we have traditional activities that we do to embrace the nationalism and the spirit of the country as a whole. And I really enjoyed it, and I really like it. And that for me, it's very important. And so, I wouldn't want my child or anybody else or my loved one or my friends to grow up in a region that they, because like the US, for example, that's a very typical developed country. Even though they have such a diverse community of culture, I feel like because of that, it's very for one particular culture to thrive, and we cannot really experience the deep and the kind of rich distinctions of that culture. For example, because we do have a Vietnamese community there in the US, but I don't think that growing up there, even though you're a Vietnamese, then you will not have experienced the of your culture beauty. But yeah, if I were to choose, then I would choose the East because of the cultural values. The food is very good, the people are very nice, and I just love the community in the sense of community and a sense of belonging, and a sense that you have something unique when growing up, and you have something to cherish and stuff. So we all chose the Eastern country. I'm very curious about what the Western people will say. Like, so there's a trend in Vietnam where, Western people, they come to live here permanently. So I wonder what those people will answer to this question. What do you predict they will say? Like, would they choose to live here in Vietnam or in their home country?
I don't know. I think that it's, very kind of like not objective, since we're very basing on our experience, right? Like both you and I have lived in other parts of the country. So I think that for Western people, if they have not, experienced other, and, basing on the stereotypes, and, if they're, or maybe if they're still comfortable with their current life, I think that they would just stick to the Western, because say it's the independence, it's, it's all sorts of things that, everyone would ask for. So I guess that they would still stick to Western region.
So the second question being, how could we minimize each region's drawbacks intentionally? Wow, that's a mouthful.
Well,
I'm thinking about educating the younger generation, because we're talking about teenagers.
Maybe like the media, social media, because it's also one thing that we could connect, right? From
but we cannot fully control, right?
Yeah, so it's
minimize
like the mindset, which is hard too, because it's deep rooted. So
I think that we can use the media like you said, but in a more authentic way, in a sense that we have to show more of each region's drawbacks, because the media here in Vietnam, they glamorize the life in the US, they glamorize the life in other Western countries, but we don't really know if we are suitable for that lifestyle. Yeah, because all they do is just glamorize. Yeah.
And the same thing for people from the West to say about, from the East. They think that it's very, also the stereotypes thing. Maybe people don't feel that.
Like, we're very hardworking, we are very, intelligent and stuff. But that's not really for everyone. And also, I do understand that. So, when they film documentaries about Vietnam, for example, of course they will have to film the very beautiful parts, that to showcase all of our country's beauty. But I do feel like it's nice for some people to bring up the drawbacks, and not just some people, but the famous and the well-known people to bring it up, because if some lesser known people bring up, then that's still create a diverse pool of opinions, but that's not going to change much on a large scale. So I do think that the media and authentic journalism will help with this problem, but because it also circles back to the education aspect of this whole. Yeah,
I totally agree with that. It's the education, it's basically the key to everything, right? But still still I think that once we minimize the drawbacks, from both sides, there will be new drawbacks, there will be new issues. Basically those cannot collide, and nothing can be standardized. We cannot standardize basically everything. So despite all efforts or intended effort to do so, I think that all the perks, all the quirks, or the stereotypes, the fun, the bad, the good, the ugly, from both sides, they will still exist, and that's
life.
Yeah, that is silly.
Celebi. Oh, did you say celebi?
Yeah, I did.
That's weird, because I did too.
Really? Wait.
Oh, yeah, I did too. Wow. You said like 1 second.
Yeah,
early,
I
and then
heard
I
something.
said
Yeah, I heard something la vie. And
I heard some too. I have something too.
wow, so it's basically
We kind of
yeah.
telepathize. Is that a word?
No, telepathic.
No, verb.
That's
Telepathize.
yeah. Telepathize. It sounds weird. I don't know. Maybe it's a word.
Yeah, communicate. Yeah, using telepathy. Yeah, telepathize.
Yeah, like sympathize.
Wow, that's
Yeah.
sympathize, sympathy, sympathetic. Yeah. Wow, that's us learning English.
So I think that's that's a wrap up for today's podcast, and we hope to see you on our next episode. So stay tuned
Stay safe
and
stay awesome.
bye.